And we're here where I have to address him accordingly. Dr. Garfield.
What's happening, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. I can't complain. How's your day going?
It's pretty good.
We're pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm here with one of the founding members, like a legendary group, Shai. So let's take it back to Nashville, Tennessee. How was growing up over there?
Well, I didn't live there too long after my birth. My mom and dad were Tennesseans, and I think I guess I was conceived. Well, I don't know if I was conceived, but I was born in Meharry Hospital in Nashville, and then they quickly moved to Knoxville. And then when I was maybe like 6, they moved to Montgomery, and I was there, and I went through first through like fourth grade there in Montgomery, and I went to maybe Mobile and then Atlanta, then back to Montgomery and then Boston. And when I got to Boston, that's when my parents had divorced. I was about 12 years old, and that's where I grew up the rest of my life throughout college and everything in Boston.
Oh, okay. So during your what music did your did your parents play in a household that gravitated you towards falling in love with music?
All the Philly International songs, if you go back and look at Philly International catalog, it's just everything that you would find at a Black family gathering. But besides that, um, I listened to a lot of jazz growing up. I didn't really come up in a gospel household or anything like that. My dad played me, straight ahead jazz music, at all like Sarah Vaughan, Billy Eckstein, Ahmad Jamal, you know what I mean, like John Coltrane, Miles Davis, you know, um, Dexter Gordon, you know, like straight ahead type of music and stuff like Carmen McRae and that kind of stuff. So I was always just listening to jazz music and trying to harmonize with the chords, just as a fascination. And also, I was a big hip hop head, so the samples in hip hop at the time were real jazz oriented. Like the Umar, with like um, Ali Shaheed Muhammad and them, from Tribe, Q-Tip, Dilla, like there was a lot of jazz samples and stuff like that. Even what you call DJ Premier used a lot of jazz samples in this
Right.
stuff. It's just a more aggressive style, but so the jazz sample, kind of was right down to my alley in terms of what I was experiencing just singing wise. And R&B and soul music like Stevie Wonder and the Marvin Gaye's was definitely people who I gravitated towards vocally. But I was always, I don't know, I was just a fan of anything that was sounding like a pretty melody, no matter where it came from. You know what I mean? So yeah, and jazz kind of put that in me.
All right. And speaking of hip hop, well, we'll touch base on it on the more we go. But before we touch base on Howard University, let's talk about your love for sci-fi as a child with the Twilight and Star Trek.
This the love for sci-fi, you said?
Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, yeah. Always been a sci-fi head. My dad and I grew up. I grew up with my dad and I always watching Star Trek and the Twilight Zone. And as a youth, I got all the little Jules Verne's book, Journey Voyage to the Center of the Earth, Journey to the whatever it was, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And, he was fascinated with the Robinson Crusoes of the world and then the Time Machine by H.G. Wells and all that kind of stuff started figuring in. And, then I'm a pretty good writer, so I think with imagination. So it didn't take a leap for me to be able to understand and take the leap to see what those books were offering. And just escaping through your imagination. Like I think imagination is the most revolutionary power that we have is to have the audacity to see something that is not yet and then make it become. Like if you can have your visual be that and not just some rehearsed trained program vision, that's just innovation. Because innovation is just imagination for sale. So if you just got the pure imagination, it's still imagination. You can pretty much kind of like as close as possible have original ideas, dare to dream stuff that ain't already programmed into society. You know what I mean? So I pride myself on still having a kid-like imagination. So melodically, I feel like I want to be free enough to do that musically and enjoy it when I hear it. So whatever form of music presents that to me, I'm with it. And hip hop used to give me a lot of food back in the '90s, for real, like late '80s too. So it was just melodically, lyrically, cadences, rhythmically, sounds. You go from Hank Shocklee and his crew and stuff like that. like I said, all the way to like a Jay Dilla, like the Umar, that kind of vibe. But then you got Primo, you got Pete Rock, back in the days, what I'm saying? Just different
BT
vibe.
should have had you at the tribute yesterday.
Oh, I lived it, man. So I mean, that I'm cool, with that because I know I lived straight through it, and I lived at Howard. Shoot, I even went to school with Puffy. It was a big part of
Right.
the formation of what became hip hop.
And then, so speaking of Howard, so was Howard University your first choice?
Yeah, only choice. That's the only
Oh,
school I applied to.
oh, you made the right decision because that opened up gates for you. So while attending Howard, how did you, Darnell, Carl, and Mark meet?
But Darnell was my freshman roommate. We were in a dorm that was not a freshman dorm because there was so many freshmen that year. They had a spillover, and so they put a contingent of us in the upperclassmen dorms downtown DC called Sutton Plaza on the fifth and sixth floor for the males, and I
Oh
think the
wow.
girls they were up on the higher floors, eighth and ninth, maybe something like that. And so it was like a lot of freshmen mixed in with these upperclassmen. And Darnell happened to be, he got into the room first because he had band practice, and I met him, it was my roommate freshman year, and we used to sing to the adjacent women's dorm. And,
Mhm.
he was a real musical, talented dude. He was just like, y'all see Drumline with Nick
Right.
Cannon.
Okay.
Darnell was like that with a trumpet. Like he was making up all the band's routines, dance-wise, as a freshman coming from his high school. Like he was like threatening first chair rank with his trumpet early on in the game. And I think they dude name was Mr. Lee too. The dude over there band was the same name.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, but he'll tell you if you can track Mr. Lee down about Darnell, like, oh yeah. But D was real talented, real musically, really adept. But he was my roommate freshman year, so we found that we had a common interest in music, and we bonded instantly on mute along those lines, and did a lot of stuff through it. And ultimately, he pledged Alpha, and that's where you met the other two guys because they're Alphas. They pledged Alpha, and they had musical interests together too, and they started doing music. And after Darnell pledged, I kind of came back into his circle again, and we bonded again on music. And next thing you know, it was a big show that the group Shai Alpha, those Alphas were planning, and a couple of their members didn't come to the last couple of rehearsals, and they were kind of scared that they weren't going to be in the show. So they asked me, who had been there like every day, just chilling with Darnell since
Right.
we hooked back up as friends. I knew all the little parts, especially the bass part. So I was like, well, I'll do it. And then that big show came. It was like the Apollo. People would boo. It was like one of those kind of shows where
Right.
people come and just to boo something. But
Mhm.
it's a lot of talent in there. And we got up there and rocked, and the crowd gave us a standing ovation, won the encore, and then we sung all these Boys to Men songs for the show. But then after that, we sung as an encore, If I Ever Fall in Love, as our encore. And the crowd loved it. Matter of fact, when the second chorus came back around, they knew the hook. And they were singing it with us on the
Oh,
first time
okay.
hearing it. So that kind of gave us confidence and let us know there was something special about this tune or something. So we decided to try our luck and try to see if we can get a deal that night. And that's how we kind of like came into existence.
Okay. So how was the recording process for your multi-platinum debut album?
It was real like crunched, truncated. Like we had 2 weeks to do a whole album because the label wanted to rely on album sales to push the
Right.
single
Okay.
so they could sell it for $20 a piece or something like that, as opposed to just selling the hot single for $9. They want to
Right.
maximize, their profit. So they forced us to do an album very quickly so they can hurry up and have an album to put it on. So that gave us the latitude though to be able to do our own stuff and then have no label micromanaging this. So yeah, we had creative control by default. And so Comforter, Baby I'm Yours, songs like that, Sexual, Together Forever, those came out of that mix.
Right.
Um,
Because the harmonies and vocals on that album was crazy.
oh, thank you,
And
man.
so for the album, right back at you, which was the remix and live version. So,
Yeah,
so was that you guys' idea or the label's idea
the
to
label, they
put
wanted
that
to do
out?
that. They wanted to do that. Like we had a lot of other plans, but that's what they wanted to do. So that's what we did.
And, and did you guys like it or love it? Or did you feel that it was too rushed? because it came out in 90. So that one came
It
out
wasn't the fact
in
that it was
93.
rushed. It was that how we wanted to present it. Like as soon as you create something, it's no longer your art piece in the
Right.
industry. It becomes a product as soon as it's birthed, and you just become an extension of a product that can be pushed. And then despite the fact that you are a human product too, they don't care. The analytics say one thing, even though you got a mouth and you in the marketplace as a
Yeah.
living product, they analytics trump that. And so whatever you saying, yo, man, this the single they want next. I'm telling you, yo, we was there.
Mm.
None of that matters. You're an extension of their product, you know. And so, I forgot the original question, but would you just asked me something, and that's why I went with it.
Oh, because I said, were you guys here for it?
Oh,
Or did
right,
you
right.
oppose it?
So I didn't mind like the time frame for the remix thing. It's just that like we had a song on there called Yours, and that was supposed to be the remix to Baby I'm Yours to be put out immediately after Baby I'm Yours was released as a remix. But they weren't used to remixes at the time being a whole different kind of thing.
Right.
They were used to somebody taking an acapella of the song that was released and then putting a new track up under it. And so they were scared to let us come out. But meanwhile, SWV came up with the Human Nature remix. It was killing the charts. And the labels thought, our labels thought our songs would compete with each other. And that's the danger. But their songs literally was piggybacking off each other. And they had two songs in the top five because they were bold enough to put both of them out and they were both
Right.
hot. And we had that too, but our label decided to split that up and put it on this remix album.
Oh,
Lost the pulse of the people because it took so long to come. It was
yeah.
like, so that part of it just kind of like, I was like, that's what it. By the time it came out, I was like, y'all might have a lot of money and be a big machine, but y'all ain't on pulse of the people. That's why the rise of the indies like Babyface's label, LaFace, and all those things were able to rise because they were more mobile, quicker to respond to the demand of the street, and with some professional savvy too. And the main major labels, they waited till the trend is good and past, and they'll finally put something out. And that bubble bend them past. Like they too late, but they got the money to just plaster it. And every once in a while, you get a resurgence, popularity wise, of a joint that really should have been dead. Like Maxwell's Urban Hangout Suite, that Till the Cops Come Knocking had been released prior to when it got hot. And it didn't do that well because the label was just timing. And then they
Right.
re-released it, and people just thought it had just come out and just jumped on it like some brand new cake they found, and it blew up. Sometimes that works, but his is probably more an exception than the rule.
So having creative control on your freshman album, when it came to your sophomore and junior Blackface and Destiny, did you guys have creative control as well, or did the label take over?
Well, Blackface was still with MCA. Destiny was on an independent label with this guy named Michael Jackson. Rest in peace. He passed away. Out of Baltimore. He was a wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens, and he started an independent label. And after we left MCA, we went over there to because Carl was no longer with us. It was just three of us,
Right.
and we went to record over there and put some stuff out. But that didn't really work out the way we planned it in terms of logistics and how we were going to approach the market. And we had some disagreements that wound up being detrimental for us. But the the Blackface album, we took a long time to do it. We took almost like a year to record that because they rushed us and made us do it 2 weeks on the first one. We wanted to, we renegotiated our deal and got a little more money. And we just wanted to take our time and reflect the fact that we grew as men and put something out that was more meaningful to us. So we got a lot of songs on there that people slept on in the time period. But after the fact, a lot of people was like, yo, I love, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. So that song was, marked our growth a little bit. And just we had a more mature approach. It was less college boyish. It was more, grown up, young adult, male perspective. And it was what we was living. So we sung about it and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. So that's where the part because right after Destiny, you guys released on three more albums. So the album that you released in '08, Whirlwind. So the part that says as DNG of Shai, so that meant because Carl wasn't there.
Oh, anything you see with D&G or Shai, what you call this album? What was it called?
It was called Whirlwind.
You mean Worldwide?
Worldwide, yes. That
Oh,
come out
okay,
in
yeah. Now, that's
'08.
something that me and Darnell did when we was over in Germany doing shows.
Oh, okay.
We got with a couple of producers over there while we was just hustling up doing different shows and going to people's studios, and we had a body of material and we decided to throw something out there. But that was just me and Darnell.
Yeah, oh,
And
nice.
Lee, yeah.
And so you guys put out your last album in 2018. So do you plan on recording more music as a group?
Yeah, we do some group stuff, and as it comes, we always just got music in us. We still do a lot of shows. Just came from Jacksonville a couple of days ago, and be in Albuquerque in a couple of weeks, and then Kansas City. Just all the way up into December, really. But I'm doing some stuff solo too. I'm working on some music. Periodically, I'll be putting stuff out, just creatively, just to express myself through music. It's fun. I still love it. I can write about things that mean something. If I get the right kind of melodies, it can make people feel away. So I like that challenge.
And then speaking of writing, let's talk about your book, the book of Lotus 3013.
Yeah.
So what is that book about?
Well, just conceptually, if you can mix Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and Beat Street together, you'll come somewhere close to the kind of fantasy like thriller, dystopian, black futuristic kind of like fiction piece. With this kind of joint is, and it takes place in 3013. One of the primary plot lines is that hip hop is believed to be a white invention, historically. Like they lost all contact in their mind of having a black origin to hip hop. It's been so commercialized that they think white people invented that. And there's a last bastion of proof, time shifted in this fourth dimensional brain world, literally called the Hall of Masters, that houses like master recordings and videos of all of like interviews on MTV Raps and all the like past, like the proof that hip hop used to be a straight black and Latino art form, because the world doesn't believe it. And it's protected by some people that most citizens don't have any idea even exist. And it's these group called the netics, the telepathic and telekinetic. They live long lifespans because they learn how to master their chi energy and eat real well and be in harmony with nature. And it's a lot to it. But the new East Coast is from Detroit all the way down to Texas because of some stuff that happened with the CIA in this book. It's just a lot of stuff going on. But the prison system is the culprit here. They do a lot of experiments on blacks to try to isolate this X factor so they can take that and put it into their technology and make their cities more vibrant as selling points to investors. So they trying to see what drives the magnetic attraction to hip hop and isolate it and put it in and cross pollinate it in their inventions to make it more vibrant and more sellable. And so the whole prison population is privy or is part and parcel of their engineering scheme with the cathodes hooked up where they can try to give people stimuli to isolate the thought pattern and see if they can find an
Oh
X factor.
wow.
So it's a whole bunch of it's stuff like that all through it that I dreamt up.
Yeah.
It's real involved in my twins, they did the score. And people would think hear score but think soundtrack. I'm not talking about a soundtrack with the music where people singing songs. I'm talking about the music you hear during a scene of a movie that creates the tension they did the score like throughout
Oh, okay.
these guys are Grammy nominated type of dudes. And so as producers, so the score is banging, it's crazy. It's just it's like it makes it sound like a movie. It just doesn't have it's not visual. But if you listen to so I'm gonna sell the ebook, which is the electronic copy, and I'm gonna sell the audio book. So you can literally buy both for $25 in a minute when I get the website finished.
Mhm.
And you'll be able to like listen, like visually look at the ebook and then listen to the audio book
I'm definitely getting that.
and get
Yeah.
the full experience or whatever. So it's coming soon, man. That's something I'm trying to accomplish by the end of this summer, going
Oh,
into the
okay.
fall season. I
So,
just got I'm technologically inept, but I
uh,
need a website where I can put it all up on there and then sell it through there. I'm trying to bypass Amazon.
okay. So that falls into play with your Afro um, futuristic hip hop writing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Sure. That's definitely what that is. Because the netics, they only speak in 8, 12, 20, 16, or 24 bar rhyme verse mentally. They mentally project that into your mind. They
Oh,
speak in
wow.
rhythmic increments. And it's called phrase physics and word economy. Like they've isolated and figured out in the future that that speaking over a rhythmic pattern is the most effective way for things to be entrenched in people's memory to get a recall. and the most efficient way to communicate any concept. So they speak in rhyme form, so they become master MCs because they have to be able to distill any situation if they communicate it in a rhyme form for people to get it. But once they give it to somebody, people will never forget the love what they've put together in rhyme form to articulate the concepts. So it takes a master to even think the way they think. So they see the meta realities behind things, and they have a lot of powers. Like I said, they're telepathic. They can, and they're also telekinetic. They can move objects, with their will. And
Oh,
it's just an extension of their energy. They explain it by saying that it's based on empathy. You can empathize so much with something that you create a false one, like you make it feel like you're one with it, to the point that you picture it as just picture it picturing you, and you can make it move by it be feeling you. Like when you pull out your empathy, it comes towards you. Like how lightning never strikes anything. It sends lightning comes down, and that thing sends a spore out and creates a conductivity with the light source, and then it looks to the human eye because it's the speed of light, like it struck a tree. But if you go in super slow motion, you'll see electricity, and you see a tree illuminate and send out a light spore because it's got water in it. It'll send out a spore of lightning or a light to connect with that thing, like,
oh wow.
and that creates the circuit, and the tree is grounded, so it gets struck. And so that's how everything moves. It's empathy is like that. You whatever you put out, strong body. If
You schooling
anything
me
has
right
any ounce of
now.
that in it, it's gonna come to the fore, and that's gonna be the plane on which y'all interact. And so all this is coming from my mind and my characters, but I make it sound realistic.
Okay. And then earlier, while you were discussing your book, you said eat healthy. So I know that you're plant-based. So
Yeah,
how long have you been plant-based?
man, it's been like 10, 12 years
Oh
now.
wow.
But see, ever since I was 17 or 18, I stopped eating beef and pork. So I was already on that journey since I was a young dude, at Howard. And then all those years I would be just dealing with what chicken, turkey, and fish. And then maybe like 12 years ago, I just woke up one morning and just said, I quit chicken and soda at the
Oh
same time.
wow.
I just quit. Like I ain't doing it no more. I'm done. The last time I had it was just it. No more chicken, no more soda. So I just quit everything. I just stopped eating blood-based foods. And then once I figured out how I could do it to where I wouldn't lose weight, because you got to figure out how you do it so you can find your balance, your
Right.
stasis point. Everybody's different. But once I found out how I could keep myself clean and cool and still keep a certain weight on, probably my real base weight, because you're gonna lose some weight, because some of that
Right.
weight you're carrying around is just water, a bunch of waste in your intestines. You know what I mean? Mostly that. A lot of false weight. So once you
Right.
get down to your base weight, it's gonna be a little smaller, but you ain't got to get all emaciated and nothing either. And then you can keep yourself on, work out, get that little lifestyle, drink more water, start feeling good. And that's what was happening with me. And as I started getting older, the things that you can control, you try to control them, to mitigate or maybe all your bad habits. You can create some good ones, you know what I mean? And so
Right.
that's on, something I decided to do for myself. It wasn't hard. Some people it's hard to flip like that because they've been a certain way for so long. It's just mentally a tough obstacle. But since I started so young at quitting beef and pork at 17, it wasn't giving up some more
Yeah.
meat, but nothing to me. It really wasn't that big of a sacrifice to me. Like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't because I hated it or nothing like that,
Yeah.
but I knew it created mucus and a
Right.
lot of other things that keep you sick. And I didn't want to, purposely just keep doing that. I just wanted to
Right.
be free of it. No, so I was still walking past Popeyes like, that smells good, but I ain't eating none of that though. You know what I'm saying? But
So before we wrap up, where can your viewers find your well, you're still working on the site, but as far as the book is concerned, how soon will the site be ready for
well, this is my target date. My birthday, I'm a Libra. Libra starts on September 23rd. And I would like to be setting up a book signing and stuff like that for myself around my birthday. So I'm trying to give myself no later than the end of September to have it all ready to drop, like by the end of September at the latest. So it's going to require me in August to really go to Fiverr or somewhere and get somebody really about that life with this website and help me really get this together so I can put my digital stuff on there and then send people links that purchase it, and
right,
the link will go to them. they can't share it because it'll be encrypted. It only
Right.
works for them. Like all that. I don't know how to do that, but I know what I want. But I don't have the technological wherewithal to make it happen. But I know people do. So I just got to connect with them and get that popping. And just sell it
Cool.
to my IG followers first and then go to Amazon and let them rip me off later.
So once you release it, I'm gonna get that copy and then I'm gonna hit you up for, for another interview so we can discuss that particular project.
Okay, cool. That sounds good.
Yeah, let's
That's
make it
cool.
happen. And also, and I want to say thank you for taking the time out. And then also, before I leave, I just want to say that I want to give you your flowers right now because this is the purpose of this platform is to give artists that paved the way for today's artists their flowers.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
So I
Thank you.
appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you.
All right.